The morning started like any other. Quiet, uneventful. I had just returned from grabbing my usual coffee, when I stepped into the lobby of the building I've worked in for 6 years. But something felt off. The receptionist wouldn't meet my eyes, and 2 security guards stood unusually close to the front desk. I barely had time to register the tension before Karen walked in. Not just walked, stormed in like she owned the place. Tall heels clacking against the tile, clipboard in hand, eyes locked on me like a predator spotting prey. Karen, president of the HOA, self-appointed queen of our neighborhood and professional ruiner of peaceful mornings. There he is, she barked, pointing directly at me. That's him. That's the man trespassing on private property. I blinked. Excuse me? Security stepped toward me like they were ready to pounce. We received a formal complaint from the HOA president, one said. She claims you're here without authorization. I laughed, nervously. I work here, this is my office. Not anymore, Karen said, eyes gleaming. You were evicted last week. You just didn't check your mailbox, I suppose. Evicted? What? Before I could respond, the guards surrounded me. My protest fell on deaf ears. Within minutes I was being escorted, dragged, through the lobby in front of employees and clients. The worst part? Karen followed behind me, smug as ever, snapping photos like she was documenting a trophy hunt. Make sure to get the cuffs tight, she told one of the officers. Can't have him running back in. As the doors shut behind me, I realized something important. Karen had made her move. But what she didn't know, so had I. 3 weeks earlier, I had no idea Karen was planning to ruin my life, or that I'd be caught in a trap she'd been weaving for months. It started small. A petty HOA notice here, a warning email there. I'd come home to ridiculous violations taped to my door, grass 1 inch too tall, trash bins visible for 12 minutes past pickup. Harmless on the surface, but relentless, like psychological warfare dressed in paperwork. At first I shrugged it off. Karen had always been, Karen. She lived to control. But I never imagined she'd bring her crusade into my professional life. That changed the day she walked into my office unannounced. You know, she said, standing stiff in the doorway, a man in your position should think twice before testing rules. I looked up, confused. I'm sorry? She smiled, sharp and cold. Some people forget that power comes from structure, from order, the kind I enforce, in the neighborhood and in this building. I didn't know it then, but she had already purchased a minority stake in the company that owned the building. Just enough to throw her weight around, just enough to twist arms. What she didn't expect. That I had plans of my own. Around the same time my late uncle's estate had finalized. Quietly, I had begun negotiations to acquire a majority share in the very building I worked in. I wanted it to be a surprise. But Karen? Karen was 2 steps ahead. She caught wind of the deal. And if she couldn't stop the sale, she'd ruin me before it happened. That eviction notice she claimed I ignored? She faked it. And now I had to decide, hide and lick my wounds, or fight back. After the embarrassment in the lobby, I went home to regroup. But I wasn't just nursing wounds, I was planning. I knew Karen's claim was a lie, but lies, when documented, can still hurt. So, I started gathering evidence. First, I checked the mail. No eviction notice. Then I checked the building lease. My office rent was paid through the next 2 months, auto-drafted and fully cleared. I pulled transaction logs, invoices, even security camera footage from the hallway showing I'd been there regularly, with clients. Everything was by the book. Next I called the company that owned the building. Before my purchase, they were unaware of any eviction or termination request. In fact, Karen didn't even have the legal authority to make such a claim. But the twist? She had sent a letter using official HOA letterhead, not company stationery. She blurred the line between 2 roles, one as neighborhood president, and the other as a minority stakeholder. Most people wouldn't notice the difference, but I did. Karen had crossed a serious boundary. I reached out to my lawyer and explained the situation. His response was immediate. She's exposed herself to legal liability, fraud, defamation, unlawful interference with business. We can do something here. I didn't want revenge. Not at first. But the way she humiliated me, the glee on her face, that changed things. I didn't just want to prove her wrong. I wanted to take back what was mine, publicly. And luckily for me, the final paperwork for my building acquisition was due to be signed in just 2 days. If she wanted a power game, she was about to find out what losing felt like. 2 days later, I walked into a downtown notary office and signed the final transfer documents. No press release, no public announcement. I kept it quiet, because the best power moves are the ones nobody sees coming. I was now the majority owner of the office building Karen thought she ruled. To ensure privacy, I purchased it through a holding company under a different name, Silver Rock Ventures. No flashy branding, no clues, just paperwork and legal leverage. I returned to the office as if nothing had changed. Karen passed me in the hallway, her smug expression firmly in place. "Enjoy your last week," she hissed. I simply smiled. "Oh, I plan to." Behind the scenes, my new management team was preparing transition documents. We were collecting staff complaints, HR violations, and security footage of Karen's unhinged behavior. It wasn't just the false eviction that crossed the line. She'd verbally abused coworkers, tampered with mailboxes, and installed unauthorized surveillance cameras pointed at employee desks. Her downfall wouldn't be personal, it would be professional and well documented. As I walked back into my office, I noticed something new. My name was removed from the door. Karen had ordered maintenance to take it down, thinking it would cement her illusion of control. That was fine. By Monday morning, she wouldn't even have a key. Monday morning arrived. Karen strutted into the lobby like royalty, her usual coffee in hand, completely unaware she was about to be dethroned. She reached for the security card panel and swiped. Red light, again, red, again, still red. A guard approached, calm but firm. "Ms. Miller, your access has been revoked. You'll need to speak with building management." Her eyebrows shot up. "I am building management." "Not anymore," he said, pointing to the new notice on the glass doors. "Greater than effective immediately. Silver Rock Ventures has acquired full ownership of Oakview Executive Center. All inquiries to be directed to the office of David Lang, building director." Karen's face went from smug to stunned in half a breath. She shoved the door, but it was locked. Banging began. Employees started to gather, peeking through the glass. Phones discreetly recorded. David opened the door and stepped out. "Miss Miller, I'd be happy to explain the transition. You're welcome to gather your things, but your management privileges are no longer in effect." Karen pushed past him. She marched to her office only to find the door wouldn't open. Locks changed. Her nameplate removed. She turned on the crowd like a trapped animal. "Where is he?" she shrieked. "Where is that pathetic excuse of a man?" I stepped off the elevator just in time. "Good morning, Karen," I said, sipping my coffee. "Looks like you forgot to check your email. We sent out the ownership memo this weekend." Her mouth hung open, breathless. You bought the building?" "Technically my company did. But yes." Karen didn't blink. She didn't speak. For the first time ever. She had no words. Karen recovered fast, but not fast enough. "You think this little stunt scares me?" she snapped. "I've run this place for 7 years. I'm connected. You're nothing." I handed her an envelope. Inside are printed records of staff complaints, video evidence of your harassment, and a termination letter. Effective immediately. She tore it open, read 2 lines and laughed, but the laughter was forced. "This is illegal," she said. "I'll sue." "You're free to try," I said. "But our attorneys are confident, and frankly, so is the board." Her face twisted. "Board?" "Yes, the HOA board. See, your behavior in this building reflects on your leadership in the neighborhood, and after today," I glanced at the gathering employees and phones recording. "Well, let's just say your reputation isn't what it used to be," she screamed, actually screamed. She lunged toward the front desk, knocked over the reception monitor, and shoved a rolling chair across the floor. "This is my building." "No," I said quietly, "it never was." She tried to reach me, but security stepped in, and just when she slapped one of the guards across the face, that was it. Police were called. She was handcuffed, shouting threats the whole time. Cameras rolled, phones recorded. By the time the cops walked her out the front doors, the footage had already hit a dozen group chats and a few neighborhood Facebook groups. Karen had made herself infamous. And the storm hadn't even hit yet. The footage of Karen's meltdown spread faster than wildfire. Within hours it had been posted on several local social media pages. By day's end it hit Reddit. HOA nightmares. Thousands of views, hundreds of comments. People weren't just shocked, they were thrilled. Apparently Karen had terrorized many other residents. She once fined a single mother $250 for a decorative flamingo, threatened an elderly couple for installing solar lights, shut down a kid's lemonade stand for operating a business without a license. The neighborhood had enough. The HOA board called an emergency meeting the very next day. Karen tried to attend. They locked her out. The vote? Unanimous. Karen was removed as president indefinitely. The news shattered her. She posted an unhinged rant online blaming male privilege, building conspiracies and jealous neighbors. It only made things worse. Screenshots were shared. Commenters tore her apart. Within 48 hours, Karen's name was radioactive. Vendors pulled out of HOA contracts. Residents organized a celebratory barbecue titled Freedom from Karen. I didn't attend. I didn't need to. I had everything I wanted. Justice, my building. And finally, peace. 2 weeks later, Karen had her court hearing. The charges? Destruction of property, assault, trespassing, disorderly conduct. She showed up in a gray suit, eyes hollow, no heels, no clipboard, just a public defender and a messy bun. The judge wasn't impressed. They showed the security footage, her screaming, shoving, slapping a guard. It was an open and shut case. The sentence, 100 hours of community service, $7,000 in property damage restraining order, barring her from the building for 1 year. When the ruling was read, she whispered, "This isn't over." But it was. Karen wasn't feared anymore, she was pitied. In the weeks after Karen's exit, something incredible happened. Peace. The atmosphere in the building changed. Staff smiled more. Clients stayed longer. Employees, once scared of speaking up, now felt empowered. I renovated the break room, opened a feedback channel for everyone. Even hosted a Friday coffee bar where people could unwind and chat. As for the neighborhood, the new HOA president was a retired teacher, firm but fair. People began planting flowers again, holding garage sales, and chatting without fear of fines. Karen was gone. And the damage she caused? Slowly we healed from it. Months passed. Karen moved out of the neighborhood. Rumor had it she tried to apply for another HOA leadership role, and was denied by unanimous vote. She disappeared from public life. One afternoon I received a letter. It was from her. 4 handwritten words: "You were always right." No return address, no signature, just silence. I smiled, folded the letter, and slid it into my drawer. I didn't need revenge. I already had everything she tried to take from me, and more importantly, I had my peace.